They left her there at dawn, when the frost still clung to the wire like tiny teeth, and the sky was the color of a fresh bruise. Her wrists were bound high above her head, rope cutting into skin already purple from the cold. Her ankles tied so tight she could barely shift her weight. The fence was old barbed wire stretched between leaning posts, meant for cattle, not for a girl barely past 17. Each time she moved, the barbs kissed her dress and drank a little more blood. "Pray if you want," her mother-in-law had said, tightening the last knot with hands hard as dried leather. "God don't hear liars." Then they rode away, hooves fading into the wide, empty land, leaving only the wind to keep her company. Her name was Eliza May Turner, though no one had called her that since she married into the Crowley family 3 months earlier. To them she was just trouble, a burden, a mouth that spoke when it should have stayed shut. The sun climbed slow and merciless. By noon the frost had melted and the heat came down like a hammer. Flies found her first, buzzing around her lips, her eyes, the blood on her wrists. She tried to turn her head away, but the rope held her fast. She thought of her mama, buried back east in soft ground with trees for company instead of this endless dust. She thought of her papa, dead in a river she still dreamed about some nights. She thought of how she'd believed marriage would be safer than being alone. A sound carried across the prairie then, faint but growing. Hoofbeats, steady, unhurried. Eliza lifted her head with what little strength she had left, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Riders often passed this fence line. Most didn't look twice. Some looked and laughed. Some looked and pretended they hadn't seen a thing. The horse came into view, big and dark, its rider sitting tall in the saddle like he'd grown there. He wore a dust-colored coat, long and weathered, and a hat pulled low over sharp eyes that missed very little. A rifle rested across his saddle horn, easy and familiar. He reined in when he saw her. For a long moment he said nothing. Eliza's mouth opened, but her throat was so dry only a rasp came out. She swallowed and tried again. "Please," she whispered, the word tearing out of her like it cost blood. The man swung down from his horse. He moved slow, careful, like a man approaching a wounded animal that might bolt or bite. Up close she saw the lines on his face, cut deep by sun and years, and a scar that ran from his jaw to his collar. "Who did this to you?" he asked. "My husband's family," she said. "They said I shamed them." He looked at the rope, the fence, the bruises blooming along her arms. His jaw tightened. Without another word, he took out his knife and cut her free. The pain hit all at once. Eliza crumpled, legs giving out beneath her. Before she could hit the ground, strong arms caught her. She gasped as he lifted her, the world spinning, and pressed her against his chest. "It's all right," he said, voice low. "I got you." He set her gently on the ground and poured water from his canteen, holding it to her lips. She drank greedily, choking and coughing, water spilling down her chin. When she could breathe again, she looked up at him. "They'll come back," she said. "They always do." "Let them," he replied. He lifted her onto his horse, tying her there so she wouldn't fall, then mounted behind her. As the horse turned away from the fence, Eliza looked back once, seeing her blood on the wire, proof that she had been there and survived. They rode hard until the sun dipped low and the land turned gold. The ranch appeared like a promise on the horizon, a weathered house, a barn leaning but standing, smoke curling from a chimney. The man helped her down. "Name's Jonah Hale," he said. "This is my place." She hesitated. "Why are you helping me?" Jonah met her gaze. "Because no one should be left like that." He fed her stew and bread, wrapped her wrists, gave her a bed by the fire. Eliza slept like the dead, dreams full of rope and running hooves. She woke to shouting. Jonah was already outside when she stumbled to the door. 3 riders sat their horses in the yard, guns visible, faces hard with anger. She recognized them instantly, her husband Thomas, his brother Caleb, and her father-in-law Silas Crowley. "There she is," Thomas sneered when he saw her. "Told you she'd run." Silas spat on the ground. "She's our property." Jonah stepped forward, placing himself between them and Eliza. "Not anymore." Silas laughed. "You planning to die over a lying girl, Hale?" Jonah's hand rested near his gun. "I'm planning to live with a clean conscience." Caleb's horse shifted, nervous. "Just give her back." "This ain't your business." Jonah's eyes were cold. "She comes with me." Thomas drew first. The world exploded into sound. Gunfire cracked the air, birds scattering from the trees. Eliza screamed as Jonah shoved her back toward the house. When it was over, dust hung thick and heavy. Caleb lay groaning on the ground, gunshot through his leg. Silas was slumped over his saddle, not moving. Thomas stared at Jonah, blood blooming on his chest. disbelief frozen on his face before he slid from his horse. Jonah stood breathing hard, gun smoking. He turned to Eliza. "You all right?" She nodded, shaking, tears streaming down her face. "They're dead." "They chose," he said quietly. "The law came days later. Questions were asked." Jonah told the truth. So did Eliza. The sheriff looked at the fence marks on her wrists and the fresh graves on the hill and tipped his hat. "Some men don't deserve the protection of the law," he said. "Some women deserve more than they're given." When they were alone again, Eliza stood in the yard, unsure. "What happens now?" Jonah looked out over his land, then back at her. "You can stay as long as you like." She stayed. The days turned into weeks. Eliza learned the rhythms of the ranch. Work, the way Jonah spoke little but listened much. At night she sometimes woke screaming, and Jonah would sit by the fire until she slept again. One evening, as the sky burned red, she said, "You saved my life." Jonah shook his head. "You saved it yourself. I just cut the rope." She smiled then, a small brave thing. Years later, folks would tell the story different ways. Some said Jonah was an angel. Some said Eliza was cursed. But if you rode past that old fence at dawn, when the frost still clung to the wire, you might swear you heard a girl laughing free at last.